Hey, welcome to the Gelish nail tutorial for beginners. This is my setup. As you can see, I have a LED lamp here, I have some rubbing alcohol, I have a manicure set that came with a file and these two tools, as well as a cuticle trimmer and some cotton swabs that are most importantly lint free. And I also have a documentary to keep me company, and this is a quick before of my nails. As you can see, they're very long. I had done this manicure about a month ago and they grew out quite nicely. This is the price breakdown just in case anyone's curious. So it's very cheap, came out to $63, which if you think of the price of one manicure, that's pretty good. So first step is to prep. This is the most important step, so spend the most time here if you can. Here I'm just soaking my nails in warm water and just softening the cuticle. I'm going to use a Hansen cuticle remover. This step is optional, it just helps the cuticle come off faster. You just let it sit 15 seconds as I mentioned, and then you just wash it off. Next, I'm using this tool that came with my manicure set, and I'm just going to be focusing on the sides of the nail, just pushing back the cuticle here. Just doing the same on either side. I find that this is where the Gelish tends to lift the most if I forget this step, so I do focus quite a lot on the sides, and then I also push down the base of the cuticle with the other end. And I'm just repeating this step on all the nails, making sure I'm not missing any. So a tip, you can use a dish soap, and this is just going to make absolutely sure that there's no oil left over on your hands. If you don't choose to do this step, just make sure you're washing your hands really thoroughly and making sure you have no hand lotion on whatsoever. So next I'm just going to be putting this towel down. It's going to help with cleanup later as we're going to file our nails. So unfortunately I had an accident and I broke a nail here, so I'm going to be shortening the rest of mine. If you prefer your nails long, then feel free to leave them that way. Just make sure that you're still filing the edge of the nail, as it will help the Gelish attach and not lift. Most importantly at the top. So even if you're not shortening the nail, you just want to do a quick pass with the file and make sure that the surface is buff enough for the Gelish to adhere to and stay there. You can use a clipper if you feel like this is faster for you. Just make sure that you're going to do another pass of the file. And you can go in with a cuticle remover. It's just going to get any excess cuticle that you may have forgot. This step is optional. Sometimes I do just use the other method, and I find that's good enough, but if you want to be super thorough and you have the time, why not just take off what you can with this one. And just into this cuticle tea that's getting quite gross, and you're just going to be making sure that the nails are rinsed and absolutely dry, free of all debris, with your lint-free wipes. Most important, you don't want to have lint stuck under your manicure. And that's what they're looking like, and we're going to move on to the pH bond. This is going to also help with the Gelish adhering to your nails, and it's just kind of like very thin fluid. It evaporates almost instantly and it helps to create the bond and dry the nail. Next, moving on to foundation. It's optional, but I find it really helps the polish last, so I would suggest it. The brush on this one is super short and easy to be accurate with. you're kind of just putting a very thin layer onto the nail. Watching back, it kind of looks like I'm putting more, but truly you only need the smallest amount of this step. And I'm just starting at the base. I kind of wiggle at the very base of the cuticle to make sure I'm not touching it. And I move to the side, and then I do a last pass on top of the nail. You'll see me do this for all the steps, and it's just ensuring that I'm covering all surfaces and there's not going to be any lifting later on. And just repeat and repeat on all of your nails. And also, just a note, this one you only have to cure for a very short amount of time. I think it says 5 seconds. You can do 10. The next one, moving on though, is your choice color. This one I picked kind of a baby semi-translucent pink. It's my favorite one. And I'm just going to be applying it in much the same way as the foundation. It's a little thicker though, so it's easy to work with still, but just be very, very careful that you're not getting anything on your cuticle. And same thing, just starting, I make the edge at the bottom, and then I move to the top and cap the top of my nail. Oops, I didn't mean to turn the light on. If you do make a mistake, you can come in with this other tool. It just looks like a little tiny, like, ice cream scoop, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so I just use this and I scoop off any mistakes, which, you know, they're just happy accidents according to Bob Ross, so don't feel too bad if you mess up. And you're just curing this one for 30 seconds. I sped up the time, but each one I'm curing for 30 seconds. Again, nail by nail is gonna make you less likely to make mistakes because the gel will be moving less in between cures. So if you're just starting out, you might want to go nail by nail. Sometimes I get impatient, and I'll do 2 or 3 or 4, sometimes 5. The thumb though, it's a little harder, so I'll kind of show you this step separate. What I do is I angle it downwards because it takes me a little bit more time, and I want to make sure that the gel is not running back onto the cuticle. So I find that angling the nail down really helps me. And I just keep it angled, and I kind of just move my light a bit so it's easier to get the nail. And if you mess up and you have a tiny bump, sometimes I'll file it like I showed there. Moving on next to the top coat. And this one, it's a different consistency. It's very thin, so you want to make sure you're angling your nail once again and just not putting quite as much on the brush, I find helps. And just starting at the very base and moving down to the top. And don't forget with this step to also do the very top of the nail there, as I'm showing. This one will help you not peel the nail. Once you catch it on something, it's going to make sure it's still adhering to your nail. And just rinse and repeat 5 more times on the other nails. 5 more times, 4 more times. I already did 1 nail. I mean, you can do all 10 at once if you like. I find it easier to do hand by hand. Whatever helps you remember so you're not forgetting one step on one nail, because definitely done that before. Alright, here we go. Finishing up the top coat. And you'll notice if you touch them by accident, they are still quite sticky. That is normal. Just continue on curing them, each for 30 seconds. I do a quick check and make sure there's nothing on the cuticle. If I was to have something here, I might file it down and do one more top coat. But here, I think I did a pretty good job. And I'm just going to do one more 30-second cure just for fun and make sure everything is absolutely 100% cured under the light. And last step is to remove any excess stickiness, as I mentioned, with alcohol. And you'll just be wiping down to the top of the nail, like base to bottom, trying not to get any of the excess on your skin. And yeah, just making sure you have everything off, because you don't want any sticky residue. You want them to be perfectly shiny, as you can see in this final finished look. I really like this manicure, especially the color. I'll try to link it down below. It's one of my favorites. Oh, this is my other hand. Side by side, one is much prettier, as you can see. And you're just going to repeat this on the other hand, unless you want only one pretty hand. I want to anyway. So my other hand, it turned out equally nice. It can be a little challenging with your non-dominant hand, but we make do. At this point, you can also apply the Nourish, which is the cuticle oil, if you would like. This is more terrible hand modeling. You're welcome. Yep, more terrible hand modeling. Oh well, you tried. So shiny though, right? I love them. And this is in natural lighting, and I included another in indoor lighting just so you get a good idea. And that's the end of my video. I'd like to thank you so much for watching, and if you did like, I would appreciate if you subscribe, because I have a lot of new videos coming soon. Thanks, and I hope you have a really good day.